everyone, and welcome to the Grebner Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamora head coach Grebner. Coach, homecoming this past weekend, and it was a kind of a special homecoming for you, and you got inducted into the Metamora Sports Hall of Fame, both as an individual and as your team, 96 football team that got second state, along with some others, the 97 team, the 73 team, and then some others, Pan Sifkin, Kelly Willard, Emily Van Fleet, and Larry Finch.
And then you had Joe Stam in
Joe
there.
Stam, too,
and
yes.
And then you had Lindsey Herman.
Yes. You had a nice group of people being inducted into the Metamora Sports Hall of Fame. It was nice to see three teams get involved. There have been a lot of great teams in a lot of different sports in Metamora, over the years. And, sometimes you forget about how good some of those teams were.
When you can have teams come back like that with the 96 team, the 97 team, the 73 team, when they come back, it's always nice to hear stories about them. Everybody has a little tidbit from each season that they recall or something that sticks out. And then to have all those individuals up in the stands there to watch the game. The kids always take pride in what they do, but it seems like they take even more pride when they're playing in front of a lot of people that had played a great role in Metamora football.
Yeah, you had Joe Stam, who's one of the bigger quarterbacks in Metamora history to come through. He and probably Caleb Turbush. Brad DeMoss was a bigger, and then you might have been one of the smaller quarterbacks to come through Metamora, but you both had success playing that position.
And that was just part of Coach Ryan's system. He put each one of us in a position to succeed, and along with Coach Gunther, Coach Schlemmer, all the other coaches, Coach Kurt Ryan, molding everybody throughout the years. But throughout both of our careers, it's all about the teammates. It's never about one individual. It's about a group of guys working together out there for one common goal.
Yeah, and the only down part of the whole evening, the whole afternoon, the parade was fantastic. The pregame ceremony and everything. Freshmen got a big win. The rain came.
It was perfect time when you go out there and you stand to be recognized with your teammates. And it was a little downer because people want to sit there and talk and share some stories here and there, but it kind of hurried people along. So the rain did put a little damper on some things.
Not to take away from just a great night to be a Redbird fan and to kind of relive some of those great games and great teams in the past. Statistic that I heard about the 73 team was that at the end of the year, I believe they were 11-0. They didn't have the playoffs back then, but a lot of people say that was one of the best teams to ever come through Metamora. But they were, I believe, within 100 yards of their passing total yards and their rushing total yards were within 100 yards of each other. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's something that I'd heard. And man, that's about as balanced as you can get in high school.
And it's not something that always happens at Metamora. No. We're pretty run dominant. That's going to outweigh the passing yards and everything. So whenever you can do something like that, that's just an tribute to the talent that you have on the team.
And you look back, that was in 73 when everything, pro, college, high school, everything was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. So that was a pretty big feat. And I imagine that probably was very tough to scheme against for those opponents that year.
Whenever you have a double threat like that, it does make it hard.
But let's get to the game a little bit. You played a very tough, I thought a very hard-nosed Canton team. Back in the day in the 90s when you playing Canton was a Donnybrook.
Mm-hmm. They're always a physical group. You're always going to have to make sure that you bring your A game and you're physical because they're going to come out and they're always going to hit you.
And the one thing I noticed is that, they had some bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. And, I think they came in at 1-3 on the year, but they're headed in the right direction. They're going to be good down the road. Maybe not this year, but down the road. Their freshman team had some kids that could play a little bit. and down the road it'd be great to get them back in and having that great rivalry that we had, like we had in the early and late 90s and early 2000s. That was a great rivalry that Metamora had with them.
Yeah. Coach Wright's doing a great job over there with them. He's getting a lot of interest in the football program. They have a lot of athletes, like you said, with the Wallace kid and everything. Barnhart at quarterback. They have a good wide receiving core where it's hard to key on just one guy, because when you look at how much they've targeted each individual, their slots or their wideouts or whoever it may be, it's pretty evenly distributed.
Yeah, they're going to be a decent team down the road, but you came in and you took care of business. You went down and you scored, and Caden Hartnett, just a tremendous night from your senior quarterback.
He's getting to a point where he feels more comfortable running the offense. I think maybe at the beginning of the year, almost kind of having a year off playing wide receiver, having that almost gap year from his sophomore year to senior year. I think it took him a little while to get comfortable and just to have a good feel for where the blocks are coming from and how quick they develop, or some may develop a little bit longer. And he's developing a great feel for it and a great feel for the offense all around.
And the one thing that a lot of people probably didn't realize, and it kind of, I don't want to say surprised me, but it was pleasant to see, was just how fast he has become.
He's been getting in going through some big holes that the offense and offensive line and the tight ends have been opening up for him. But once he's been getting through there, some of the safeties and corners and the DBs, they think that they have an angle on him, and he's just been able to split the seam and turn, some 10-yard plays into 40, 50-yard plays.
I thought the thing that was interesting the other night, in Metamora has always been predominantly a right-handed team. We run to the right a lot. But the other night, for whatever reason, you guys start picking, from the very get-go, you start picking on the left side. Cam Davis found some nice seams early and often on that left side, and he had another nice night too. He had, I think, close to 100 yards rushing also. Did a fantastic job of getting through, and we were getting 6-7 yards at a clip. Sometimes it almost looked like you were going to the backside or the weak side. The tight end was on the other side, on the right, and you were going to the left. I don't know if it was designed to be that way to attack their weak side of their defense, but your linemen, I thought, getting two guys, regardless of the opponent, but getting to their defensive player to block, I thought that was probably their best night this year so far.
Yeah, they did a really good job adjusting. Canton does present some problems sometimes, when they stack their two linebackers and you don't know exactly which way they're going to go. And so Coach Otto did a great job working with them this week of getting their eyes in the right spot and working with the combo blocks. And our tight ends and our H's are developing a real feel for when to turn up on counters and stuff like that. And so having the ability to go to both sides because of the tight ends, because of the H's, and just everybody's comfort level, can be a real weapon.
Your offense moved the ball real well. You got up, I think it was 20-6. They came back and made it 20-14. But your kids responded, I thought, really, really well. Especially after a pretty key injury early I believe was that late in the second quarter.
Yes, it was.
When you got a player, I believe it was Broderick Schreier, as they went down with an injury. One of the things I really kind of liked to see was Caden Hartnett immediately went over to Kedrick Shafrin, because that's who replaced him.
Yes.
And immediately was over there talking to him. He came in later in the game. He caught him on a nice crossing route in the middle of the end zone.
Yeah. And that was an important score too. That was going before halftime and everything like that, and he was able to find Kendrick for the score. And Kendrick's a long player. He can go up and get the ball on any pass play, and so everybody had the most utmost confidence in him. You always hate to see injuries happen. Unfortunately, we had one prior with Luke Ufile and his collarbone, and especially Luke. You can't count the number of hours that he's spent up in the weight room and
they're both seniors
and developing himself, and he's a senior. And then same thing with Broderick. This week, they've put in a lot of time, a lot of hours, and to see anybody get injured is heartbreaking, especially when it goes to a senior.
Yeah.
And so your heart just really goes out to them. But I thought our kids responded in spite of all of that. I thought that they have confidence in one another, and it showed.
I believe you took that. I think it was a 28-14 lead at the halftime. Into halftime, you came out, and I thought you had an onside kick, I believe, and recovered it to start the second half, if I remember right.
It wasn't an onside kick. They went down, and Nick Vespa put a
That's
nice
right.
hit
That's
on
right.
him, and they just happened to
That's right.
fumble it, and we were lucky enough to recover it.
Yeah, it's a real nice hit. And boy, it's good to see that those kids flying down on special teams and making nice, good, clean hits. And yeah, you're right. That was how. And then we scored on the very next play. And then your offense really started clicking. And I thought your defense really, really did a nice job of completely shutting them down and gave you the cushion that you like to get, because then you were able to get a lot of kids into the game, especially on homecoming.
It's always nice to see the defense make some adjustments. I thought overall we played pretty well on defense. Had a couple breakdowns, mainly on the back end that night, and it wasn't because of a whole lot of missed assignments or anything like that. One, we fell down on coverage, and so that allowed them to score a little bit easier than we wanted, and we didn't make them earn it quite like we want to. But they all kind of settled down, got their feet back underneath them, so to speak, and were able to keep them at bay. And on homecoming and any game that you can, it's always nice where you can rotate in a lot of players, especially seniors that have put their heart and soul into the game, into Metamora football, not only for 4 years, but a lot of the kids played JFL as well. And so it's nice to get all the kids in and get the playing time and get the rewards that they're deserved as well.
It was you had a lot of kids score touchdowns too. Jadon Cranford scored a touchdown, his first varsity touchdown of the year. I believe there was another one late in the game.
Cody Harrison.
Yes, Cody Harrison had a nice run and showed some speed to get down to, I think, about the 7-yard line, and then you just kept feeding the ball and got him a touchdown.
And to see a senior get a touchdown like that is always a great feeling. The kids all feed off it as well. The thing is, Cody has actually really improved with his vision at running back just throughout practice. And he's done a lot of work on scout team really to help prepare for game nights, and to see him be rewarded with a touchdown, makes everybody feel good.
Yeah, those kids that scored touchdowns late, they were really excited, and that's really what it's all about. And man, that was nice to see. The other thing too, it kind of cleared up a little bit of confusion. Canton scored, I believe, I think it was 48-14, and they scored a touchdown to make it 42-20, and then they tried an onside kick, and they called an illegal block. Now, if I'm right in my rules interpretation, you can't send guys down to block and prevent somebody from fielding an onside kick. Is that correct?
Correct. That was the bottom line. Our player crossed the 50 to receive the ball, but he was hit before actually being given the opportunity to make a fair play on it.
Now, if he'd have stayed back, would that have been a different story? But he went over the 50.
But he went over the 50 to get the good hop, and so that's what helped with that penalty.
Smart move. And that's what I thought was the penalty. Of course, they didn't have any kind of a mic set to explain that, but did we get the ball there, or did they have to kick over again?
No,
they had to kick over again.
They had to kick over again, and the reason for that is we had to accept the penalty. If we would have declined, they would have got the ball back because they recovered on the onside kick. So we had no other option but to have them kick again, and then they got the 15-yard unsportsmanlike after that. So then they're kicking really deep in their own territory, and we benefited from some good field position then.
And you've had quite the opportunities this year. I believe we were into our second game of the year, and nobody had kicked off from the 45 except for to start the game. Everybody else had kicked off from deep in their own territory because of penalties.
And there's some different scenarios you just can't make up, and sometimes you don't really dream of, but some of those have come about this year for sure.
You head into week 6 already. You're 2/3 through the regular season. Hard to believe.
Time flies.
Whew. And you're playing a very tough Pekin team. Pekin comes in, they're undefeated, they're 5-0. They beat Morton last week, 14-7. Very, very good game. They come in with some really good talent. The Taylor kid, Sprecher, Benassi. They got a quarterback
Jordan.
that's Jordan, Scotty Jordan that's back. They've got some weapons.
You know, and the thing is, like, you have Tyler, who's been there since his sophomore year,
Which was what, 1988, I think.
Man, I mean, it seems like he's been around forever, and he's one of those kids that nobody in the conference will be sad to see him go, except for Pekin.
Yes.
Just because he seems like
so
he's been
good.
around forever. They kind of have like thunder and lightning, so to speak. Because Sprecher, he can pound and punish up the middle. Tyler, he's thought of as a speed back, but the thing is with those two, they both can do, just the opposite as well. Like Sprecher, if you clog it up in the middle, he's not afraid to bounce it. And Tyler, if you prevent him from going on the outside, he's not afraid to hit it up the middle. So they're both very versatile backs. They have a very versatile offense. Their quarterback can throw the ball. They have good wide receivers, good perimeter play, and so they present a lot of problems to you from the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that's going to be a true test, and this is kind of where you want your team to be in the position. You went over there, and now it becomes what, a 3-way tie for first place.
It's always something that you look for, and that you want to keep putting yourselves in a position to be able to play in big games. We have the opportunity this week to do so, but we got a tough task in front of us. With their offense, they have a very tough defense as well. They're very stout. Their defensive line will get after you. They have a great linebacking core, and then especially when you have Tyler at free safety, he can fill an alley and cover ground, and on any type of pass play and stuff like that. So they're going to present a challenge, and you have to go over to their place. But hey, if you play sports, this is the type of competition you want to play, and this is the type of games that you want to be in, and just to see where we are as a team.
And Tyler's being recruited by some big schools too, so he's no fluke. He's a really, really good football player.
Yeah, and they have a lot of them. And so, just when you think you got to worry about Tyler, they have about 5 other people that can get yards and beat you. So we're just going to have to be disciplined.
We'll take a time out here, and when we come back, we'll have the Germantown Grill Player of the Week.
Central Illinois, you asked for it and we listened. Germantown Grill is growing, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. The game's on at Germantown Grill, off Route 116.
Welcome back to the Jared Grebner Show. Jared, this week's Player of the Week was Caden Hartnett. This is the second time he's been elected the Player of the Week, 2 weeks in a row, and he's just put on a show. I think he had 228 yards rushing in that first half, and he kind of put the team on his shoulders and just, great first half. But you had some other guys up front that kind of helped him get to that point.
Yeah. Caden had some great reads, some nice cutback lanes, some very explosive runs, especially when we needed them most. A lot of those runs, seemed like they were from 40, 45, 50 yards. And, when he got in the open field, he was hard to catch. Like I always say, Caden will be one of the first ones to tell you is from the 5-0 linemen up front, from the tight ends, the H's, Cam Davis blocking up front.
Cam Davis, yes.
And when you rush for, as a team, I believe it was like 460 yards or somewhere right in that neighborhood.
479, I think.
479. You know, there's a lot of guys up front that are getting a lot of the tough work done when you can rush for that many yards. Caden was the beneficiary of a lot of that in the first half. We didn't feel it necessary to use him a whole lot in the second half. He was able to put his mark on the game in the first half, and then we used him as a leader and stuff like that in the second half, and just him carrying out fakes. You know, he was able to take a blocker with him with some of his fakes, or I'm sorry, a defender with him, and open things up for some other running backs.
You know, I thought that, you know, without Cam Davis pounding it up the middle there and drawing those the linebackers and those defensive linemen, you know, they started to kind of squeeze down inside because Cam was getting so many yards up the middle. It kind of, so when he'd pull it, there'd be nobody there. But without Cam Davis just being a pounder inside, he may not be able to get outside.
And that's why it's always a total team effort.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Cam did some dirty work, getting some tough yards inside. You know, sometimes 4 yards, it's not a bad thing. 5 yards, not a bad thing.
No.
You know, and then sometimes Cam's able to break them for, 10, 12, 18, whatever it might be. And then, they start keying on him a little bit, and we're able to open things up on the outside for Caden. Cam's also very unselfish, and he's a good lead blocker as well when we ask him to. And so he fulfills many roles for us. But, that night, Friday, Caden had a really good game, was really explosive. And I thought our offense did really well and is starting to gel.
2 weeks in a row now that he's been Player of the Week.
Well, as long as we keep winning, that's fine by me.
Well, Coach, big game Friday. Good luck, and bring home a W.
We'll do our best. Thank you.
We'll see you next week, Friday night at Pekin.